The Nintendo Switch is literally doing the impossible, but there's more things that we need to discuss with this system, the Nintendo Switch, what they're going to be doing transitioning to the next platform, and the momentum that Nintendo is carrying. Now, Doug Bowser made some waves with his comments, but essentially his comments with the next Switch and not talking about it and feeling bullish on the current platform, the Nintendo Switch, that's exactly what he's paid to do. That's his job. He is not going to sit here and start talking about Switch 2 and features and break company NDA because somebody asked him a question. So of course, he's going to pivot right back to the current Nintendo Switch where they're still selling. It's still selling at a good clip, and it's unprecedented. It's really impossible, more like it, that you would see a platform as old as the Nintendo Switch in its 7th calendar year continuously sell as high as it does across the world and continue to have software sales that don't fall off of a cliff, because that's usually what happens with these systems. The console sales dip so low to the point to where they can't really feasibly run their business in the same vein without already announcing something new. So it's crazy to see that with the Nintendo Switch, and it's impossible. I've never seen any other system like it, maybe with the exception of the Game Boy, but even the Game Boy had a Game Boy Color to help revitalize things. So that's very different than what the Nintendo Switch is doing. Now, let's talk a little bit about the Nintendo Switch lineup for 2023. So this is also kind of fits into the category of the impossible, because usually in the 7th calendar year or so, you don't have games, first-party titles or first-party published titles coming out every single year, and potentially one of your biggest games of all time as well coming out this late. Now, that happens sometimes. We did see it with something like The Last of Us for the PS3. It does happen, but The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, obviously none of those games have sold like what Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild has from a first party standpoint. So the lineup for this year has been solid. It's been pretty good. Fire Emblem Engage in January. February we had Kirby. March we're getting Bayonetta Origins. April is Advance Wars, and then May is going to be The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and then July will be Pikmin 4. So for the first number of months for the year, Nintendo has pretty much everything covered. They have multiple games, people are buying those games, software is doing well. So the lineup for 2023 has been really good, and I think that Nintendo probably has a few more games here and there for 2023 as well. We need to wait and see what is happening with Metroid Prime 2 and Metroid Prime 3, Metroid Prime 4. Plus, there's still Baten Kaitos. We have the HD collection coming. So there are games that are going to be coming out all this year on the current Nintendo Switch platform, obviously thanks to its record-breaking sales and of course its continued software sales as well, which is very important. I do think people overlook that quite a bit, that Nintendo Switch software is still selling well across the world. You'll still see it in the top Amazon charts, you'll still see it in the top Japanese charts, you'll still see it in all of the European charts. Games are still up there in the top 10, top 20. Many times it might even top the charts in different regions. So that is the most important thing, or definitely one of the most important things, and obviously doing the impossible, because you didn't really see that before with a lot of these systems. Let's talk a little bit more about this 7th calendar year, which the Nintendo Switch is moving into that. Obviously, it's old at this point, but something that I want to reiterate is that even though Switch is in its 7th calendar year, Nintendo has been making adjustments and refinements and thinking about what they're going to do next for the next Nintendo Switch system. They've been doing that for years now at this point. Now, it's known pretty much that anytime a system comes out, the company is already working on the next system. We're seeing rumors of a PS5 Pro. Many different sources are coming out and saying Sony's working on that, or Sony's going to have that in 2024. So obviously, all of these companies, whether it's Microsoft, whether it's Sony, Nintendo, they're all already working on their next thing, their next revision, their next product that they're going to be doing. Now, Nintendo's obviously been doing that, and I think that Nintendo felt pretty comfortable with the Nintendo Switch considering the sales trajectory and how the chip manufacturing shortage really affected things, I think they were happy with just getting the OLED out and kind of waiting at this point, because it's one thing when it comes to a system doing well for this stretch of time, but one thing that it does for you is that it buys you a lot more time in order to get your next system ready. So this impossible streak that the Nintendo Switch is on is actually pretty good for them, because they get the time, they get the revenue and money to make sure that this next system that they're doing is going to be really good. I expect it to be a lot better, just because the Tegra, the mobile tech from 2015-ish, 2017, that was the launch timing and planning and everything for the Nintendo Switch. Tegra X1 was pretty much what they were going to use. Tegra X1 was pretty much it. From that time all the way to this point, 2021, 2022, they'd probably be using something from that time frame. It has advanced significantly. There has been major strides in the technology when it comes to DLSS and what some of these mobile chips can do. We saw obviously what Steam Deck is doing, so there's quite a bit to look forward to, and obviously it affords Nintendo that time and also the engineering to make sure all of the other stuff works, with the pricing, with the heat sink, stuff like that, so the system doesn't blow up in your hands. Battery life, all those things play a huge factor into what Nintendo's probably going to do next, whether there's going to be supplemental computing devices, what type of features they're going to have. I mean, there is so much to look into, but I think the good thing also as well is because this system is so successful, I think Nintendo is going to try to take the Nintendo Switch and kind of seamlessly blend it into the next system, the Switch 2. They're going to try to incorporate that because people still like the Nintendo Switch. They still want to play the system. And I feel that Nintendo knows that they can probably still sell Switch games, standard Switch games, on the next unit much better than what they can do before, because unlike Microsoft and Sony's had far more success with this, especially like with PS4 and PS5, or even previous systems, PS3, PS2, whenever there was backwards compatibility all the way through. Sony's had a bit more success in terms of selling those last generation games on the next system, or those last generation games still selling better. Nintendo usually gets to the point to where it's like year 4, year 5, and that system is dead. It is done. They are moving on. Nothing's coming out. And the previous generation games, once that new system comes out, those stop selling, with the exception of like a few different titles, with the exception of like Smash Brothers or something like that, or certain Mario games. So it's different this time around. This is not going to happen. Like once the Switch 2 comes out, I think there's still going to be millions of gamers who still play Switch 1 games and buy Switch 1 games, very similar to millions of gamers who still buy Xbox One games or who still buy PS4 games and play those and have fun with it. I think Nintendo's finally going to get into that realm because they're not killing off everything because their previous system didn't do so well, or the technology's so dated, or the games just can't play well enough, which is what we've seen before a lot of the time with Nintendo systems. Or they completely change up the gimmick where they just want to go full go on the new system, like the GameCube to the Wii, for example. So they have to completely send a clear and new message. So I think that all of this is a lot for Nintendo, right? It's a lot for consumers, but I think that people have kind of taken like, okay, when the next system comes, it comes, like we'll get what they're going to do. So the Switch 2 rumors are starting to pile up. They're starting to get larger and larger. More and more people are speaking out and saying, hey, well, this is what I've heard and this is what I've heard. I had a slew of Switch 2 videos like a week or so ago on the channel discussing things. And of course, all of it is rumors at this point, guys. It's not like it's confirmed or fact or anything like that. It's simply just rumors. But obviously, Nintendo is gearing up for that next Nintendo Switch. Whether it is announced this year, and I do want to talk about that, when and how and all that's going to happen, whether it's announced this year or next year, I do think that an announcement is coming. And I do feel that the announcement will probably come at the end of this year and then maybe launch next year. Furukawa, very stringent businessman. I think he likes to follow the success. So I think he might want to follow the success of the Nintendo Switch. That worked out very well for Nintendo with the announcement in the fall of one year and then the launch in the spring of the following year. I think that they could do the same thing with the Nintendo Switch 2 if it was announced in the fall of this year, October or so, with a special video, and then it was released next year, early March, April or so. Maybe they have a huge Nintendo Switch 2 presentation like they did back in 2017 for the Nintendo Switch in January, and I think that presentation right then and there, how they had so many games lined up and ready to go for core gamers, for casual gamers. They had the price, they had more of the features. It was clearly shown what the system was, what it can do, what the price is, what the main features were, and what Nintendo's strategy and plan for it. That to me was pretty much birthed from the Wii U failing as much as it did and going to E3 and doing that. Nintendo's never going to do that again. They're always going to take it into their hands and say, hey, we are going to deliver our message with this next system. So I see Nintendo probably doing the same thing or something very similar to make sure that there is no confusion. There is no journalists out there trying to twist what was said, or, oh, it was an attachment or something like that. Whatever this next system is, or when they decide to do it, it's going to be on Nintendo's call and them making sure that they portray exactly what this is and market it and talk about exactly what the system is, and of course show off the software, because at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. You're not going to sell many units of your system if you don't have software to go for it, whether that's third-party software that people want to buy or it's big first-party software. And in Nintendo's case, that's usually big first-party software that moves the units. So Nintendo's definitely gearing up for all of that. All of Nintendo's biggest teams are absolutely working on Nintendo Switch 2 software, or working on certain patches or probably things for current Nintendo Switch games to run better and look better on the next Nintendo Switch. We did get that huge rumor that a lot of it turned out to be correct. We just have to wait for the other part, with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet getting a patch for the next system to look better. So I do feel that there is quite a bit that's going to happen in that realm when it comes to games. There was stuff like Xenoblade, obviously Octopath Traveler was announced third party at that Switch presentation back in 2017. You had the huge trailer for The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. You had Super Mario Odyssey that was officially revealed with its name and more of its themes and everything. There was ARMS that was revealed at that show. There was just a ton of great content. So I think that that needs to happen again for the next Nintendo Switch, and I feel that that's part of the reason why that they're taking their time and making sure that when this next system launches, or when they first reveal the system, they've got the goods to back it up, because the Switch is a hard act to follow considering its price point, considering how much it's sold. It's the third best selling system of all time, so that's hard to do. It's hard to follow up on that, right? Heck, Sony still hasn't even gotten back to what the PS2 did back in the day, so it's not easy to do that. And the PS4, for example, sold 117 million units plus or so, with the Wii U and the Xbox One on the market. So it wasn't like there was a ton of major competition that the PS4 did. So even that's kind of like, whoa, man, they didn't even beat out what the PS2 did, or even more than other things, even with that low of competition with those two. So it's not easy to sell that amount. So we'll see what's going to happen with this next Switch, but I'm looking forward to seeing exactly how Nintendo is going to play this and how it's going to play out. But the biggest thing for me would be the launch titles and the price. People have talked to me like, OJ, what do you think that the launch titles or the price is going to be? And I feel that there is going to be a next-gen Mario Kart game. I think that is probably their biggest priority, is launching Mario Kart early in the life of the next gen Switch, just because look at what Mario Kart 8 Deluxe did for the Nintendo Switch. They just brought it over. Nintendo obviously didn't know it was going to blow up as much as it did, to over 50 million units plus, but a lot of games blew up to way more than what Nintendo thought it was going to do. Animal Crossing was the same way. So I think Nintendo is going to be keen on getting out a brand new Mario Kart to really push the system and transfer all of those Mario Kart 8 Deluxe users to this next system with this next Mario Kart game. I think that's what they're going to do. Then of course they need to get the launch pricing right as well. I'm guessing it's going to be $350 or so. They might have multiple models where they have a model without the dock for a certain price, a model with the dock for a certain price. So I'm not really sure what they're going to do, but I'm guessing they're targeting somewhere between $299 and $350, maybe even a bit higher for a high-end model and a different model. So I'm just not sure. But what I do know is that they want to make sure that they have big games right there at launch, and not only just at launch, but also throughout the rest of the year that it launches, right? Throughout the first 9 months, they want to have a lot of great first-party software, just like they did with the Nintendo Switch, because that's how the system was successful when there wasn't a lot of third parties making games for the platform. It was because of those great first-party games like Splatoon and like ARMS that came out as well, that helped really supplement things, along with the huge Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild title right there at launch, where people were just playing that game all day. I think that a brand new Mario Kart game could have the same impact, if not more, with the next Nintendo Switch, but we're gonna have to wait and see. But what are your thoughts on everything here, guys? If you want to see more videos where I talk about the Nintendo Switch 2 or other things with Nintendo, RPGs, and more, check out these videos right here on the screen. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you for the next video. Peace.